Hi, everybody, and welcome to Getting to Know Your Neighbor. I've had this idea for some time now, and the idea behind it is that I've been in Tucson for many, many years, and over the course of those years, I've met a lot of people, and every now and then you find somebody that's got a really interesting or compelling story. And you don't know that. They're just your neighbor, Bob and Marge, across the wall here in the backyard. But sometimes they have a very interesting story, and we want to talk to some of those interesting people. And I'm sure at some point we'll find somebody interesting, but today we're going to be talking to Shannon Black. If you live on the northwest side of town, Shannon is your neighbor, and we're going to get to know your neighbor just a little bit. Shannon, thank you again so much for doing this.
Of course, I'm excited. I love it, Mark.
This is Shannon, who is part of the morning show on KIIM FM 99.5. It's Max, Shannon, and Pork Chop in the morning. Now, I know Max is kind of probably the captain who kind of keeps things online and going in the right direction. Describe to me your role and Pork Chop's role.
Okay, Pork Chop and I think Pork Chop is the man on the street, the comedy, the silliness, the things we don't want to do, we get him to do. Right. And I mean that in jump in a hot tub in the middle of winter or go up on a light pole. Me, I think I bring the female perspective and a different kind of comedic wit. And I also think that I like to, just talk to the girls, talk to the women. Like what I'm talking about is what happens in my life or in my girlfriend's lives or what's going on in the world or, all the entertainment stuff that I love. That's where I think I am.
And I'm going to kind of touch on that part of it a little bit. But it's great that Chop knows that you love him. Because, man, does he take... I saw his Facebook today, his Facebook page. Now, you didn't do it, it turns out.
I did not.
But this is something you would do.
I was standing right there when they did it.
Somebody hijacked his Facebook page and said what?
Said, I pooped at the penny pitch.
I pooped at the penny pitch.
Yes.
And it appeared that Pork Chop was saying that about himself. But
yes, that was his Facebook status. Now, the promotion staff, Chanel was there, and she's like, his computer's wide open. We should say something. And immediately I said, absolutely, I do it all the time. And she said, I don't know. I don't know if he'll get mad. And I said, well, what do you want to say? And she said, pooped at the penny pitch. And I said, absolutely, you have
I wish I'd have thought of that. Okay, now you and I have known each other for a lot of years.
Yes.
But I'm sure there's things I don't know about you. So let's just start at the beginning. So where were you born and where'd you grow up?
In Syracuse, New York, and I have 5 sisters.
Whoa, I didn't know that.
My dad had 1 daughter with his first marriage. My mom had 2 daughters with her first marriage. My mom and dad had 3 girls. So there are 6 of us.
Okay, you all got that. Now, is that where you went to school initially?
I was there only until the 3rd grade. So I really consider Tucson home.
Okay, so you went from Syracuse to Tucson.
Yes.
Okay,
my mom decided to take a road trip across the country to decide where she wanted to live because she was tired of the snow and cold weather. Found Tucson and has never left.
Well, that's an interesting point. I mean, you couldn't have a more different culture as far as Syracuse. Was it a big shock when you got here, or were you happy you got here?
I think because we were so young, it was more just getting used to what school we were going to, making new friends, finding out where we were going to live, than the whole shock. Of course, it was shocking.
Right.
And here's an interesting fact about that. Ever since then, because my parents were divorced, we would spend Christmases and summers back in New York. So I was never in a Tucson summer, full-blown summer, until after I graduated college.
Okay.
And I wasn't here for winters usually, or at least that Christmas break that you had during school, until after I graduated college.
Okay, where'd you go to high school here?
Cholla High School.
Okay, if we went back to your high school and found an old classmate, how would they describe Shannon Black?
I think they would say I was fun and silly and smart, but I was also game for anything. Whoever was going to do whatever, let's go.
Okay. Well, we did go find somebody.
Oh, geez.
And they said, is she still in the witness protection program? No. Okay, so were you a jock or you were smart? You were brain. Were you a partier?
I was a cheerleader, and I was a flag girl at one point. I was assistant vice president of the senior class. I was on student court, which means He made rules for the school, but I don't think anybody paid attention to them. Still not clear on that one. How I got in there, I don't know either.
Okay.
And then I graduated 6th in my class and gave a
Oh.
speech at graduation.
Okay.
And went to NAU on an academic scholarship.
See, I did not know that.
Which most people would never believe because I've lost any smarts that I once
Well,
had.
now obviously the social Shannon had its roots right there. Oh, and it carried on to what
Yes.
you're doing today. So after high school, you went to NAU. Okay. You got your degree there. What did you do after that?
I went straight to KRQ, a local radio station here in town, and I worked in their music research department and started part-time overnights on the weekends.
Okay, so you've never had a real job.
Correct. I'm the lucky one.
Well, let me ask you then, how did radio get on your radar? What made you think I can do that?
When I was in high school, I always wanted to either be a weather person on television or do radio because I would always listen to the radio. I was the pain in the butt that would call the radio station and talk to the jocks that they would put on hold for 20 minutes and not want to talk to. You know what I'm talking about. And I would hang on the line until they came back or call back.
Okay, now that brings up a point. Who were your inspiration, or who are the kind of people that you listen to on the radio, especially female radio personalities, because there aren't a lot.
I did not have one female radio personality that I looked up to or thought I should emulate or wanted to be like. I just knew I wanted to be on the radio, so much so that I would watch this weekend sports on the television, and I would call and give high school sports updates to the jock who was on the air on 13K hit. It was an AM station at the time. And he would let me do little sports updates.
Okay, so that kind of segues into my next question because, you know, how do you get a job on the radio your first time because you have no experience?
Right.
How do you talk someone into saying, I can do this, trust me, give me a shot?
When I went to NAU, I did a broadcasting, announcing, performing dual major. So while I was there, I was on the local television. I worked in the news and I worked on the radio station. So I had that little bit of anything, and I brought those tapes, and the program director, John Peake, he was like, ooh, you're a little green. You're going to need a lot of work. And I said, is there anywhere I can start just to try? So that's where he said, let's start you in the music research department, and then we'll see what we can do. And also, I did intern at 13K hit when I was in high school too, but none of that was on the air.
Okay, do you remember the very first time you went on the air by yourself?
That's funny because I don't.
Oh, you don't remember?
I don't remember the first time.
Oh, wow.
I know it because it was so long ago. It was like 1992. It was December 92, and it was overnight. Like I got to say something or do something. It wasn't a full shift or anything. It was me sitting in with someone, so I don't remember exactly what. I just know I was nervous. And then when I was on my own doing the first thing, I just remember walking in an overnight shift at the time, I think was like midnight to 6. And I'm thinking, man, it's late. This is crazy. Nobody's listening anyways. It's fine. So I just started talking.
Well, now, so you're doing overnights or whatever. Tell me your progression at KRQ. How'd you move through the ranks there?
Okay, I was at KRQ from February 92 to December of 2002.
Oh, so quite a
yeah, it was almost
period.
11 years. And I started off overnights. Then I started doing traffic and, the traffic reports in the morning and the afternoon. And then I started filling in for if they needed someone to fill in on the weekends or on middays or something like that. And then I did overnights and full-time on the weekends. And then finally, like 5 years in, they gave me the midday shift.
Wow,
and
hung in there,
during that 5 years, I did overnights, weekends, filled in anytime they needed me, and I worked every single day. I did traffic in the morning and the afternoon. I worked every single holiday. I lived, I just was loving it so much. It was so great. And I remember we had one Christmas party, and they said they were giving out silly awards, and the one was she's everywhere but you never see her, and I got that, and I just loved that because they were like, you're constantly here. We don't see you, but you're always working.
But that's what people don't realize. You have to do that. I mean, and you have to, like you said, eat, breathe, and sleep radio if that's what you want to do. Because when you first start out, the hours are crappy. You don't make any money. You don't maybe have a social life. But then, didn't you move on to the morning show?
Yes.
There? Yeah.
And then I moved on and finally got the morning show. And and also when you're doing all those other things, then you're out at gigs. So I had bar gigs everywhere
Right,
too.
right.
So I would have 3 bar gigs a week in the evening, plus whatever remotes and traffic and middays. And then when I went to mornings, I got to do mornings, and that was, I could still have events and be out with everything, but then everything else stopped. So I had one position, so you just focus on that, which was amazing.
Right, yeah. And then you did go to the mornings. Was that with John
Yes.
Jay and Rich?
Yes, when John Jay and Rich started, I started with them. We all started together. So they were on KIIM with me.
Okay, and then they eventually moved on. Was that a pleasant experience for you overall? I mean, was it?
I decided to leave KIIM, and I did not discuss it with them because I just wasn't happy. I felt like I don't want to get into it too much because it's been many years, and apologies have been made on their behalf to me. But I was really hurt, and I thought I was treated very poorly. Okay. And so I decided to leave, and they did not like that.
Okay,
But I didn't leave to go to another morning show.
Right,
I left to go do middays on a teeny tiny, 50,000 watt station, which is in no way competition to KIIM.
Yeah, but teeny tiny and 50,000 watt don't match. That's a big station.
I mean, compared to our 100,000 watts.
But it also brings up another thing. Because there aren't very many female radio personalities, I mean, at least in Tucson, do you feel that they obviously have to work harder, or did you have very many bad experiences because look, the Me Too movement is here now, so it wasn't really then. Did you experience any of that kind of stuff coming up the ranks?
No, I didn't. It was funny because a few different people went in and replaced me afterwards, and I heard about some of them being treated poorly. Me being treated poorly was just, it's the John Jay and Rich show. Right. Shannon's name's not in the title. Okay. They go to all the big wig events. Right. Shannon doesn't get to go. Okay. But I'm still with them everywhere, and I thought we were all buds, and I wanted us to all be together. And so you can't, and as a woman, if you're saying something, then it's like, oh, she's crazy, or she's ego driven, or all kinds of things like that. So I was really hurt, really hurt. I mean, some of my best friends I made at KIIM, Mojo and Betsy, still best friends with them. I was in Mojo's wedding. I mean, Nixon Lowe, who we've lost. If you know him, yes. Oh my gosh, Nixon was all over town. I mean, I just had so many experiences and great friends from there. Tim Mulehausen and Dan the Hairy Man, and I'm giving all their on-air names. And Rhino, his brother ended up marrying my best friend, and just so many good, cool people. New guy, and Francisco, and I have such a great fun time of that. And then when I left, and it just went to heck, and that really hurt me.
Well, and that's kind of another aspect of radio. It's a business, and sometimes people just want to advance themselves, and sometimes they don't care who they step on. Yeah. And that probably may have come as a surprise to you because that's just not in your nature. But some people it doesn't seem to bother. So,
right. And I want to make sure I say that John Jay and Rich and I are all friends. It's not like we hang out there in Phoenix now, but. I remember, I don't know if Rich wants me to tell this, but he called me like years later and said, hey, I just want you to know we were pretty shitty, and I'm sorry. Yeah. I really want you to know that. That meant the world.
Yeah, I was going to say that must have felt pretty good.
Yes.
So you go on to another radio station. What was that?
It was 97. I can't even remember what it was called because it's changed names so many times.
But here in Tucson.
Yes. Yeah. And it was in the KIIM building. It was the...
Oh, really?
Bob.
Wasn't the cat?
Okay. It was because they changed it to Bob, and that was when they had the Bob stations and the Jack stations, and they played all kinds of weird things. Okay. And they would say, turn your knob to Bob, meaning switch the station. Yeah, so that was 97.5 Bob FM.
Okay, how did you make your way to KIIM FM? First of all, how long have you been there now?
I have been at KIIM FM since December of 2002.
Wow, that's a lifetime in radio.
Yes.
That's it's very unusual. For people who don't realize that. I mean, you may be in your career for 30 or 40 years. That's not often the case in radio. In radio, you don't. Yeah. And I grew up here, so I love it, and I've been here forever. I was approached by the bigwigs at KIIM FM, who we're owned by Cumulus now.
but it was different then. I forget who owned us. And they said, hey, do you want to come over to our station? It's a jack format. It's a bop format. It's going to be all different, different kinds of music.
Oh, okay.
It played all different things. So you didn't know what you were going to hear.
Right.
If it was going to be, gosh, I don't even remember what was out at the time, but it could have been
Tears for Fears.
Yeah, or Spin Dragon, or I don't know. Yes, different things like that. And it was top 40 pop, but it was all over the place. It wasn't all just current.
Oh, okay.
So that's what, again, it was so long ago. I don't remember because I wasn't there that long.
Yeah.
I went over and did middays, and then they asked if I wanted to do mornings with two different, one guy I worked with that went, and then another guy I worked with, and then he left, and then they had an opening at KIIM FM for middays because you were moving your position around over there or doing more or less hours. So I got to move to KIIM for middays, and this is all over, a couple years. When the morning show opened, they asked if I wanted to do that on KIIM FM.
Okay, and you've been there since you said 11 years or so?
I've been on the air with, I think with Max and Pork Chop since the end of 2004.
Wow, okay. In country music in particular, and you've probably realized this once you moved over, your country audience and your country stars are pretty nice people.
They're absolutely loyal. Are.
Now, and I know you've had a chance to just meet tons and tons of entertainers and stuff. Rattle off 4 or 5 that you can think of off the top of your head.
George Strait, Garth Brooks, my two big wigs. I just can't believe it.
Yeah.
I love the classic artists. Alan Jackson came to our radio station. Yeah. I flipped out. Yeah. That was just amazing. I got to meet Randy Travis, but I've met almost all the new artists too, which Luke Combs, and who I just think is going to be the next big superstar. Yeah. Jason Aldean, Luke Bryan, Blake Shelton is one of my favorites. Miranda Lambert, I love every single thing she sings, and so that's just a couple. You could probably name 50.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Now this is kind of a tough question, but is there anybody that you've met that, I know they're all wonderful, but is there anybody that you've met that was either particularly funny, particularly smart, or particularly interesting, or maybe not so nice? And you don't have to name names. I'm just curious if that kind of thing occurs.
Well, I have to talk about the Garth Brooks and Taylor Swift.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Because Garth Brooks, we were able to go to a meet and greet, one of my girlfriends and I, in Vegas. And he does his meet and greets with just individual groups of people. He doesn't bring in, if you go to a normal meet and greet, they're just going to cattle call you in and out. You get to go say hi,
nice
pose for a picture, and you're out.
Yes.
Garth Brooks had it set up so that it was like 4 to 8 people at each time. He came in on his own, played a song, did whatever, brought Trisha out. In ours, one of the guy's wives, her plane was delayed, so she didn't make it. Garth said, well, let's get her on the phone.
Wow.
Calls her up, talks to her, and says, hey, what show do you want to go to on the tour? I'm going to send you and your husband and make sure you get to go and come see us. He gave all of us sweatshirts, Garth Brooks sweatshirts. He gave us, at the time when Yeti was just coming out and being big and famous, Garth Brooks Yetis. He sat down and talked to each one. He's like, so Shannon, you're in from Tucson, right? It was like, oh my gosh, he knows us.
He remembers people's names.
Yes, he does. And one of the girls who was in there had been in a really horrible accident, and she was doing so much better, but he was like, and how are you feeling? Yeah. And she started talking to him about this song that it never wasn't even released. It's like way down on the list of Garth Brooks songs. I can't even tell you the name of it. And she said, that's one of my favorite songs ever, and it really helped me recover. And he said, you know what? Hold on. Grabs a guitar and says, I got to be honest with you. I don't even remember all the words to it, but will you sing it with me? She started singing it, and he sang in and out on it with her, and Trisha sang too.
Yeah.
That was amazing. You do not see that.
He's certainly special, and he must, and I've thought about this, and maybe he must have some kind of front person or a staff that does a little prep work, when people come in, so that, he can't remember everybody's
name. Right. I don't know how he does it.
Yeah.
I've seen him do it with multiple people numerous times. I don't know. That's what I say. I call it the Garth Brooks School of Marketing.
Yeah.
If you can market yourself and be like Garth Brooks in the business, Hallelujah.
Be like Garth. That's it. That's the recipe
And
for
Taylor
success.
Swift does the same
is that
thing.
right? Okay.
Taylor Swift has meet and greets where she puts in like it's a party scene. Everybody comes in, she puts out hors d'oeuvres, she walks around and talks to everybody. And this is how it used to be. I don't know if it still is. And that was what we got to experience. And she's just so sweet and nice.
Well, and 99.9% of the people you meet in country music are really, maybe not to that extreme, but they're pretty good.
Yes.
Again, has there ever been an experience that you felt, they didn't come away with all that fun?
Well, there is one artist who I love, love, love. I don't want to say their name because if I get to go to another meet and greet, I'm going. Who you could tell did not feel like being there.
Yeah.
And came in and was just like, yeah, okay, hi, whatever. It wasn't even worth it for them to come in.
Yeah.
And then we were doing the Grammys or the ACMs or something, and they were scheduled to do interviews, and that person called ahead and said, cancel on my interviews. I just don't feel like it. Yeah, and so didn't do any interviews. And then it was hilarious because paparazzi had caught them out to lunch. They said, oh, so-and-so's in rehearsals. They won't be able to make it. Everything's been changed. No, they just left and went to lunch. They left the whole venue and just went out with their friends.
Okay. Well, I've always said, look, you can always catch somebody on a bad day, but sometimes people just aren't interested, I guess. Now, a few years ago, you met the love of your life, Adam.
Yes.
And so he now is a part of all this nonsense, all
Yes.
this craziness. It's always nice when you get a chance to do all these cool things and meet these new people, but it's pretty cool too when you get to share that with somebody.
Yes.
Okay.
My girlfriends are very upset that I'm married now and
he gets all the benefits. Now, is there an event or a person that you guys have met or gone to that particularly he enjoyed?
This is going to sound funny. This is in my opinion. First of all, he loves Blake Shelton. So I think he was really super excited that he met Blake Shelton. But Sheriff Mark Lamb from Live PD up in Phoenix, I think he has a crush on him. He just loves him. And so he's seen him 2 years in a row at Country Thunder, and he gets the biggest smile on his face when he gets to talk to him. That's who I think it is.
Hey, is Sheriff Lamb coming in today?
Yes. Oh, he asked. And then this last Country Thunder, Adam was wearing one of Sheriff Lamb's T-shirts, and Sheriff Lamb saw it and came over and goes, "Hey, buddy, how you doing?" Shakes his hand and says, "Let me take a picture with you." So that was like heaven.
Oh, that's cool. Now, look, I know that you, again, you're very social. You're on social media a lot. You do remotes for the radio station, and then you're just out and about. So you meet a lot of people, a lot of fans. And again, in country music, almost everybody's pretty nice. Do you ever run across somebody that just crosses the line a little bit that maybe you're not comfortable with? I mean, it has to happen from time to time.
Well, a long time ago, the listener just sent a letter. I, of course, read it to everyone. It was just really rude, and I posted it online. They said, what happened to you? I saw you at an event over this weekend, and you used to be really skinny, and now you're
Oh, my Lord.
And they meant it. They were like mean. And I was like, wow, that's really rude and horrible.
They were in the basement and yelled up for Mom to take that letter to the post office.
Yes.
Well, and that almost brings up another point. With social media today, it used to be just the phone lines. People would call in. Well, now they can touch base with you. And you must get instant messages or somehow from people who think you're very nice and maybe they think they know you. How do you respond to some people who may think they know you a little better than they really do?
Well, usually if I see a message, I respond to it. Hey, thanks for listening.
Yeah, right.
If I think they're stranger danger, I'll just say, thanks so much. I appreciate it. Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
That's it. And if they keep messaging back, then I won't. Because if I get that creeper feeling, no, because that freaks me out. Yeah. But I don't mind having a conversation with someone or if they come up and they're like, oh my gosh, we listen every day, or I grew up listening to you. I still have people who are like, oh my gosh, I grew up listening to you on KRQ, which I think is wonderful. I enjoy, talking to people and meeting people and when we're out and we do whatever. If it weren't for our listeners, I wouldn't have a job. So by all means, say hello.
Well, and especially to you, because I know that you're a very social person and you like that. There are some people that just, they want to get off the air and they want to go back to their house and sit in the dark, but not you.
I'm out probably too much.
Yeah. And
the bags on my eyes.
You are a football fan.
Yes.
I forget what team it is that you like.
It's the opposite of your team. No.
Oh,
Mark
that's right.
is an Arizona Cardinals fan,
Big time.
which is good, living here in Arizona,
Sure.
having a fabulous season.
Yeah.
I am a Dallas Cowboy fan.
Yep.
Now, how that came about
That was my question.
is my mother has been a Dallas Cowboy fan since the day the Dallas Cowboy fans stepped foot on a football field. How? We don't know.
Yeah.
It just happened. So my youngest sister, everybody picked on my mom because she's a Cowboys fan. With Cowboys fans, you either love the Cowboys or you hate the Cowboys. There's really not a gray area when it comes to that. So Heather felt bad for my mom and started being a Cowboys fan when she was young. Me, I didn't pay any attention to football, didn't care about it until I saw Troy Aikman on television and he went to the Dallas Cowboys and I was like, who's that?
Who's that?
I am now a Dallas Cowboys fan. So that's how I got into football and being a Dallas fan.
And you're a fervent fan. You really are.
Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't do this without talking about your lovely mother. She's wonderful. I mean, many of you know Judy. She's just and boy, a Cowboy fan. You know, her house has
she's a nut.
She's got, I think, is it a Troy Aikman signed helmet?
A Troy Aikman signed helmet. She has my autographed jersey that I paid for in Vegas we both went to this auction in Vegas, and you're in Vegas and you're drinking a lot, like, we got to have that. So I got a jersey, she got a helmet, and they're hanging in her house.
And every Sunday, I know you go there almost every Sunday,
Yes.
you and Adam. And I've been there on occasion.
Mm-hmm.
What a spread she puts out. I mean, it's like a buffet.
Oh, yeah.
A couple of TVs.
It's a party.
It's a really...
The neighbors know all about it. And seriously, when like UPS comes or FedEx, and if they're in the doorway and they see something, because she has so much memorabilia everywhere, she'll invite them in and be like, oh yeah, look. And then tell them, you should come to the game on Sunday. Yeah. That's my mom.
And I know that you guys just, or you're finishing up the penny pitch this year. You do it every year. And
yes.
And what's the charity that the money
Arizona's Children Association. Yeah. It's their emergency fund that assists all the family. They especially work with foster and adoption families, or families where, say, something happens to the parents and the grandparents have to all of a sudden take over for the kids. And this is, all the money goes to them. We do not have huge corporate sponsors. We don't have, we have everything is local from our local sponsors, people who work here, live here, have businesses here, and the community.
You know, and I don't know how long it's been going on. I mean,
26 years.
26 years. And it's raised a ton of money.
Yes.
But I bet it's also brought to mind, or you have people come up with great stories. There must have been some things that have moved you over the years.
Oh my gosh, even just this morning, yesterday, one of the ladies who works there was talking about how you don't realize you just don't know the problems that people have. And, you're getting kids who are coming from what they thought was a home and being moved into an area where they don't know where they're going to sleep that night. They don't know if they have, if they're going to have clothes on their back, where their next meal's coming from. And Arizona's Children is trying to fix everyone so that, help the families do that. And she told me about this young boy who came in and they said, okay, write out a list of things that you need or you think you want or we can help with. And the first thing he put down was socks. And how that doesn't hit you, I don't know, because I can't even imagine. That's just the saddest thing, that you could think that we have those people right here in town and they need help and he wants socks first.
He didn't ask for a toy.
Right. And so all this money, it goes to that. And I just love that we do this every year. I donate with them every year. I'll do whatever because they're helping so many people. Innocent, kids shouldn't have to go through that. And then you think about foster kids, if they're not adopted out, they're let out into the world with nothing and no one. Right. It's not like they're going to go on to college. They don't have, the funds for it. If they're lucky enough, they can maybe get, a scholarship, but they don't know where to go. When you age out of the foster system, you're gone.
Right. And I know the penny pitch is something that the radio station has done, and I know that behind the scenes you do things for other people as well around Christmas and so forth. You're all over the place. You work a lot. What do you and Adam do when you get some free time just to have fun?
Adam would say she doesn't work at all. She works 4 hours a morning.
Well, that is you know what? If people do perceive that way, but to be honest with you, it's a good perception because you're making it look easy, and it's not.
Well, and because you do go to events, or every time I'm online, or I'm trying to see what listeners are doing, or what they would be interested in, or posting about things they could do, or fun things, or any of that. And then I used to work with Emerge a lot more than I do now because the pandemic hit. So they help, victims of abuse right here in town. And I pretty much, I'm usually game for anything. We like to watch television.
Well, I know you're housewives.
I'm not housewives.
No?
This is what everybody thinks. I love reality television, but I love the competition shows. Yeah. I still watch every single season of Survivor.
Oh, one other thing I forgot to mention too is for a while, and I don't know if you still are, you were on TMZ reporting from Tucson.
I would call in because I am the biggest nerd, and they said one day on Twitter they needed people to call in. So I was like, yeah, and then I would call in and give an opinion on whatever story they were doing and give my insight. And then they started calling me and saying, okay, let's have you on, let's have you on, let's have you on. And then during the pandemic, that kind of went away because it had a different feel how they were doing it, and then I just kind of forgot.
Well, you're known for sharing that kind of information, entertainment.
I love entertainment news and gossip.
I'm surprised, and I've thought this for a long time, that why doesn't a local TV station pick this up? I mean, people, what if it's a 2-minute segment or something? People like that stuff, and if you can, give 4 or 5 reports in a 2-minute segment, I bet it would be something that people
Let's ask them. KOLD, K-Gun, KVOA, and KMSB. What do I have to do?
Or at least PBS. Well, if you didn't do radio that long time ago, well, I don't know, maybe that's not even in the picture because you knew what you wanted to do. But if radio wasn't there, what do you think you would be doing?
Oh, I'd be a singer, of course. I have this beautiful voice to share with them.
Yeah,
that's a joke because he's heard me sing karaoke, and I have no idea because I've always wanted to do either radio or weather, and I gave up weather because I'm not really good with directions. So I don't know. I think about that a lot because I'm like, oh my gosh, what if they kick me out of the radio? What am I going to do?
Well, I know it's a different time than when you first started, but what would you advise somebody today, especially a young girl who says, I think I could. I'm personable. I think I could be interesting to people. How would you advise them to first get a job or what to do prior to getting a job? What would be your
That's tough because radio is so different now.
It is, yeah.
I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but we're live here in Tucson. We are not syndicated across the country, but there are so many radio stations and jocks that you're listening to who live in this city and they're broadcasting on 50 stations. So that one's hard because you have to be, I'm not going to tell you it's going to be easy, first of all, because when we did it, we had to work our butts off to get in somewhere. Now you get people who just walk in the door and they're like, hey, I want to be on the air, and doing nothing before. I had to work 5 years every single day. That is not an exaggeration, again, and holidays, just to get to one full-time position that I really, really wanted. And then it just went from there. So I don't know. Radio's hard right now.
And I guess if you have the same kind of passion that you did, maybe you'll find a way.
Yes. Or everybody seems to be into podcasts.
Podcasting,
I don't, I'm not usually listening to podcasts, although everybody tells me I need to listen to the true crime podcast.
Yeah, I've heard
because there's one. I love Dateline.
I love the TV shows. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, Shannon, I've enjoyed the heck out of this.
Mark, I love you.
Yeah, I love you too. And I really appreciate you doing this. I know that you guys got better things to do.
No, this is fantastic.
All right, Shannon Black, part of the KIIM FM 99.5 morning show. It's Max, Shannon, and Pork Chop in the morning. Make sure that you tune in, and when you see Shannon out on the street, say hello, but don't bother.
Thanks, Mark. I love you. Thanks.